Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we do a comparison between the Gibson SG Standard 61 and the Gibson SG Standard 61 with the Maestro Vibrola. Now essentially, both of these guitars are the exact same with one tusk of a difference here. But I know that there's been some different questions over, are the necks the exact same? Tuning stability, obviously. Can they use the exact same case? And different things like that. And color. They're basically the same color. So I'm gonna go over some of those differences and stuff like that at the end of the regular sound samples that we do. And as always, YouTube videos are fantastic for different perspectives and stuff like that, but always try out these guitars for yourself. That way you can see if you bond with them, because you can't really translate feel as well as you'd like over the internet without reaching in and touching the guitars. But I do have 5 sound samples for you today. First of which is what everyone wants to really hear. So that's clean with the bridge, middle, and neck positions. And then we of course end things, because it is this channel, with full on metal. Alright, so there you go. There are the 5 sound samples for the comparison between the Gibson SG Standard 61 and the Gibson SG Standard 61 with the Maestro Vibrola. So I am going to go over some of the, like burning questions, I guess, or the general questions that you do get between these two guitars. But I do want to go over the specs, and it's going to be pretty easy because they're all the same except for, the Vibrola here. So they're both carved mahogany bodies with mahogany necks. They do have the slim taper neck. Of course, we have rosewood fingerboard with the trapezoid inlays. Both of these also have the inlaid Gibson logo and the, people call it the crown, people call it the holly leaf. But that little logo is inlaid there as well. I have added the Les Paul truss rod cover. I'll probably order another one for this one because I'm a nerd. But generally it's just, like a blank truss rod cover. We do have the 61R and 61T for pickups here. However, this one has the 60s burst buckers pickups. They're the exact same pickups. They kind of go back and forth on what they want to name it. I think it's more to keep it uniform in the lineup because, like the 80s tribute pickups, or the 80s whatever pickups, and the Explorer and the V and all that stuff, and the 70s pickups. So yeah, they're the same pickups. Both are hand wired with CTS audio taper pots, and of course they have the orange drop capacitors. As far as tuners, we have Kluson style Gibson vintage deluxe tuners. And hey, for the one guy that's going to ask out there, this is going to help you. Are the strap buttons the same? No, they're not. The strap buttons on the SG Standard 61 are a little smaller than the kind of mushroom sort of tops, or jean button sort of strap buttons here on the one with the Maestro Vibrola. And of course, we have the Tune-O-Matic with the stop bar. This is also the ABR1 bridge. This is also an ABR1 bridge, but it does have the Maestro Vibrola. So now that we've kind of gotten that out of the way, let's get to the differences here, or like some of the questions that I've had over the last little while for the differences between these two guitars. So a lot of people do ask if the neck feels a little different between the two. They are both the slim taper neck. However, when I'm playing them, I don't know if it's psychosomatic. However, the Maestro Vibrola feels like it's maybe a millimeter thicker, just from the 5th fret to the 12th fret. That's, again, I'm probably absolutely nuts, but I know that a lot of people have felt that way as well. Also, the weird question of, can they use the same case? Yes, they can use the same case. When I bought this, the case, actually, the tremolo arm, or Vibrola arm, was up in the case, so it was just pushing down on the strings or whatever. But if you're gonna put it in the case, just swing it around. But yeah, they're the exact same case. Color wise, I don't know, you tell me. They look exactly like the same color. I'm partially colorblind though, so you can say, hey, you're nuts. This one's a little darker or something like that. Another thing I have noticed here, and it could just be on my Maestro Vibrola one, but the pickups themselves, they're straight here. However, they're just like the SG Standard, the regular Standard. They're sort of slanted on this one, and I can't really push them down, and I don't want to go in and kind of shim things. So that's just a little neat thing for me. But it also means that as far as the poles, they're going to be like ever so slightly different from one to the other. And of course, tuning stability. We kind of know about this one, right? Everyone's tugging on their strings, only tuning up to pitch, never down to pitch. It'll stay in tune. But this guy here, this is not for dive bombing, just so you know. If you're grabbing the tusk here and you're just gently doing this, rocking her back and forth so you can get it'll stay in tune. But if you're gonna go, ow, or do that, you're not Joe Satriani, don't do that on this, it's gonna go out of tune. But again, if you're tugging on your strings, I say this as much as I possibly can because just some people don't know this. If you're tugging on your strings, so if you tune it, always tune up to pitch, don't tune down to pitch. If you tune down to pitch, you gotta tug on them and then tune back up to pitch. Basically, if you're tuning down to pitch, it'll keep things loose around the posts, and the moment you start bending, it'll start going a little flat, so it'll go out of tune. But if you tug on your strings, tune up to pitch, once you're fully tuned, tug on your strings, tune it up to pitch. If you do that 3 times, it should stay in tune for a very long time. And as well, again, just rock it. Don't do any dive bombing. And of course, this is lighter than this because, well, the Vibrola weighs a little bit. And man, is it a little more comfortable to play, at least, from my perspective. I like heavier guitars. I like the non-weight relief Les Pauls. I just feel it feels a little more balanced. So here, that's definitely a major plus. And it also makes me interested in getting the sideways Vibrola, or whatever you want to call it, just because, I don't know, I'd like to have another SG that has a little more weight to it. And as far as metal, well, you kind of heard it. It can do metal, that's for sure. But the more that you tune it down, the more that you're either gonna want to get thicker strings, or the more you're gonna want to raise your bridge here. Because if you don't, you're gonna get a little more pluckiness than you're kind of looking for. And I don't know if that is just because of the Vibrola, because you get a little bit of that on this, because the Standard 61 is a little more pluckier than the regular SG Standard. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Either raise your bridge or get thicker strings. But that is all I really do have to say. I know there's one more burning question. I'll do that. I'll answer that. Don't worry. I'm just going to do it visually at the end of the video. But again, that is all I have to say here. I really enjoy both of these guitars. Currently at the moment, just because this is a little heavier, I do absolutely favor this over this. But I've loved this for years, so there's definitely nothing wrong with it. It's just I like a little more weight to it, and I get to do a little bit of the jangle and shimmer that I do feel is missing from some of my Gibson guitars. Anyway, just watch, you'll get your answer, and thanks for watching.
Use leather straps.